Now for today's tutorial, I'm going to be using a reference photo from Brittany and Anna's YouTube channel, which is called Abandoned Beauties. And if you haven't viewed their channel, I suggest you go and have a look, because they've got some beautiful old buildings that are derelict now and abandoned. And I think this one comes from episode 6. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is. Something is about a ghost town. This is one of the buildings on the outside of it. And they love filming these old beauties, and it's just as much as I love drawing them. So once again, parts of this video are going to be in time lapse, and the reason is that it's easier to do it that way. Otherwise, you're sitting there and I'm just going over and over the same thing all the time, and we don't want that. You know, it's just repetitive. So anyway, I'm going to be also I broke it down to 3 segments just to make it a bit easier to view. Okay, so remember, you know, as I keep saying, pause often, get up, walk around, and come back with fresh eyes. And remember, imperfection is in the eye of the beholder. And don't forget to enjoy the journey. Let's get started. Okay, now to do this, I'll just turn that light on. We're drawing on an A3 size sheet of paper today. I just wanted to do it a little bit bigger. So how we work it out is the same way. Now this is our reference photo, and we have the same amount of grids. On an A4 we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 across and 5 down. Now on the A3 we want the same amount of squares. So when you work it out, it worked out that it was going to be about, I think they were 5. Yeah, I made the squares 5 centimeters to get the same, you know, as the A4. Alright, so it's actually, it just means that the squares are a bit bigger. These squares are, I'm pretty sure they're 4 centimeters. Yeah, they're 4, so these are just a bit bigger, that's all. Alright. Okay, so what I'm doing here, even though we're in time lapse, we're just following down the actual outline of the building, but if we look carefully, what we're doing is we're just following not the outline, but we're going by the grid. So we're just sort of working it out, you know, the distance between like that point and there, and that's how we can sort of get it a lot closer than just trying to draw it freehand by looking at it. It's just another method of drawing. And we rub out as we go. You don't have to, you know, it's just putting down the groundwork or the pencil drawing. So this is like at the ugly stage where we're just putting bits in, and then we find that, oh no, we don't like it, well, it's not quite in the right place, so we move things around. That's how we do it. This is the sort of at the stage where you just got to persevere with it, and I use my pencil and different things to try and get different angles. I find that the triangle that I use is actually slightly, got little bumps in it, it's slightly raised above the actual paper that we're drawing on, and it creates less smudging. And they're a good tool. Just drawing in the roof, the boards that are across on the roof there, because you can't really see a lot. That's the problem with some of the reference photos. You can lighten them up on your computer, but you're still going to have places that you can't really see. So you sort of got to make it, you know, look how we think it should be. It's our drawing. The windows and things, especially when you're trying to draw in perspective, when you're drawing them, to start with, you think you're not making them big enough, but you'll find that they actually are. It's just the way the shape of the building, as I say, the perspective. If you were looking at it from front on, it would be different. So looking at that there, that's where the roof's going to come down on that side. I just go ahead and I sort of make little marks, little dots where I think, well, where the actual grid and the drawing, the line, and the building that we're drawing, or the object that we're drawing, and they line up. Yeah. I'm too busy trying to focus what I'm doing. I'm not always looking at where my camera is. Well, I know where my camera is, but I move things around. Trying to focus. Just measuring there. We're drawing on a 5 centimetre grid. We're just measuring in, and the reference photo is 4 centimetres, so trying to work out the angles. If you don't get it right first time, don't matter, rub it out, do it again. And quite often I've found myself working in the wrong grid and go, oh, and you rub it out and start again. That's why you got to number the grids so you know where you're at. Numbering the squares. This is a very unusual building in the sense that it's sunk in parts, so it's not a true. The angles are all going off in different directions. And where the boards are, some are pointing down, some are pointing up. Yeah, I decided that was a bit too low, so just moved it up a bit. And that happens. That's the beauty of graphite, you just rub it out and not happy with it. Remember, this is, like I said, this is in the ugly stage, so we're just doing the line drawing. Never rush, just take your time. Work it out. Yeah, raise as you go. put just little bits of detail in, even if they're not right, but I put them in because just in case I forget. Okay, so what I've been doing now, we're just put in the foliage, and it's just real little squiggly circular motions. Really what I'm trying to do here is just set it all up so it's nice and everything's in position, because we will be going back in to actually finalise it, put the final details into it. Mainly just trying to get the shapes and get some branches and that in, and that's what I'm trying to do at this stage. Rubbing out the grid lines as we go. And like, you've got to remember, when you rub out those grid lines, make sure that you take out more than just the lines, because the graphite actually spreads when you're using your although I haven't used it too much at this stage, but when you do use it for when you're using your blending stump or brush, it spreads the graphite around the image. So it pays to, when you go to take out lines and things, you just take out a bit more than you need to. Otherwise that line will come back when you actually shade over it. A bit more detail in there, just darken it up. So that tree is sort of in front, or that bush is in front of what's behind it. It's just a matter of using tones, and this is with foliage, it's a really good thing to remember, that you're going to have at least 3 tones. You got your mid-tone, you got your light tone, mid-tone and dark tones, and that's what creates the depth. I'm using a mechanical pencil. I find it's easier to keep the point, especially for doing this. Just outlining where I'm going to go with the bushes, where I want them to come down. And I like to sort of move the paper around. I move the paper in the direction I want to go. And the reason I do it in time lapse is because it's the same thing, you know, all the time. I'm just taking out some highlights. It's the same thing over and over. It would take an hour probably to just do the foliage. It's just putting down the line drawing of it. The graphite in my mechanical pencil it's an HB, and I find that they seem to be a little bit darker, the mechanical pencils, than the wood pencils. No, it's just my imagination, but they just appear to be. It's a 0.7 thickness, the graphite, and that that I'm using at the moment. They come in varying degrees. I seem to have all HB at the moment, but I do have down to a point 2 and a 0.5 and a 0.7. Now we're just moving over to the foliage on the other side. As I say, we're not trying to get too much detail. We just want to make sure we've got the line drawing so we can come back to it. Now I'm going to show you how I got the lines for the angles for the weatherboards. Now you can use a 2-point perspective here, but the point would be way off the page somewhere. So what I've done is I use a digital angle ruler, and these come in real handy. They're not that expensive. I think there's about 20 bucks at the local hardware store. I think it's Bunnings. So what I did was I just tipped it on its side like this. That's our drawing, obviously, and then our reference photo we did the same. And then what I do is I get my digital angle ruler and I just line that up. Line that up with the angles on here, as you see, because as it goes around, it straightens up. And it's just getting that right. Okay, and then I just go like that, and I've already drawn them in, but I'll just show you how I did it. So then you get, they're about, I don't know, 4 mil, something like that apart, roughly 4 or 5 mil. Okay. And then, but then, excuse me, as it comes down, like for example, when we get to, say where the window is, we just change that angle. Just like that. And don't forget, we're going to be going over this and putting in, all the detail in that. So, we just, as long as they're fairly close, just take your time. And we just make sure that because as we come down the building, obviously the angle will change. So we'll go to the next bit now. So roughly that's about, so they just come down like a small fraction. We'll come down to the bottom of the window now. And then we get that angle there. Where are we? I think I've changed something there. Anyway, that's all right. Just like that. And it just progresses all the way down. Now, if you haven't got a digital angle ruler, you sort of just got to, I don't know, try and wing it a bit. And just remembering, of course, that as you come down, as the weatherboards come down, because of the perspective, that is slowly coming down as well, the angle, until you get it flat, which is like horizontal. Okay. yeah, so that's basically there is to that. There's a lot of stuff we can't see in the actual, even when I lighten it up, you know, like I try and lighten it up, like in here. But it's just going to be the same as what's in here, you know, and over here you can't see what's going on in there. But it's just much the same, so we're just going to do it. We're not going to do it in as much shade as that. We want to see something, you know, that's the whole reason we want to draw it. We've got the shadow coming down here. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you that, and then we're going to carry on again. And where I think it's very, you know, important to explain how we've done it, I'll stop and show you. Now, also, as you see, we've done the leaves and that, and those are just little circular motions, scribbleisms or squiggleisms, to get the texture of the foliage. Okay. Now, of course, the other way of doing the lines for the weatherboards is, of course, you can use your grid. Now, for example, on this side over here, if we were to go and look at our grid, we'd say, let's just go from the halfway point to there. So we know that on this side, halfway down of our grid is right there. Now, if we would use the halfway mark and we look, and we're just going to get approximate here. So I would say that's going to be about, we divide that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we'd want, we want to get in there, so we'd go, that'd be about there. So that would be the line, this line here. And we can't see what's happening up here. That's alright, we're going to assume that that's what's happening. So I think it's pretty safe to say that we could use that angle all the way up. And I'm making it about 4 or 5 mil. And then we'll go up again, about the same. And because this is in shadow, I do want to get it in, but just it's not going to be much really. And that's the angle, that's this angle here. Now below that halfway mark, that line there, we're going to, below that grid mark, it's sort of, it'll be around there. Now that's coming to there. I'd say that's around about 1/3, just under 12, yeah, just under 1/3 of the way. We've got 5, 15, about 16. Come down. So it'd be about like that. And now, because this building itself is actually, you know, right out of skew, so nothing is going to be perfect anyway. You'll notice that the lines go like that, and then they slowly, as you see, that's the angle there, but then as we come down, you know, they're slowly flattening out, although in this case, because the building has sunk, it's not how it would normally be. So I'm just going to come down here like this. And you just take your time. So the door actually, if you see here, you'd think, oh, it should be like that, but it's not. If you go like that and then it goes down, see? So that's sunk, or something's happened there anyway. So I'm going to actually